Record. Hey.
Yay! All right. Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear Right Company.
Wow, this is actually the first Icon Company show we've had in at least a month or two.
Yes, that is true. I mean, you know, we are an international boys love show, so we go all over the globe, well, at least all over Asia for this. And so it's understandable that we'll have breaks every once in a while, but you know, if it wasn't for Right Company, we would not be here talking to you. So it's appropriate to pay homage every single episode. But we're here to talk about Still Together. I know. It feels like contrasting emotions here, but me and Mason truly are on the same page with this. It just so happens to be that I plan to have fun with this. I don't know if Mason is. So before we begin, Mason, I just wanted to ask, how have you been feeling lately?
About what?
Just life in general, your health, your skin.
Fine. California's on fire. So again, sorry for the lighting. I usually rely on outdoor lighting, but yeah, it's fucking ash outside, so.
Wow, that sounds like it could really compromise your health. May I suggest you taking daily 1x1 tabs?
I'm quitting. You warned me before we started. She was like, it's gonna get weird with the props. And I was like, okay. I thought you were trying to get me to talk about CL, because I am repping, okay? I am.
Speaking of CL, would you like to express your emotion through a CL song, perhaps? We've got 5 minutes to kill.
I guess I do. I am very excited about her song. I played the song.
So if you have not watched Still Together, this whole last interlude will probably seem totally crazy to you. But Still Together is a commercial advertising program that was put together by GMMTV, but was sheltered under the guise of being a continuation of Together, the BL series. And so I feel like in honor of the fact that it is a commercial, I would give us our own commercials in the midst of our review. And you've just seen the first of our commercials. I have 2 more commercials ready for us, but I'll bring those in when they're appropriate. But Mason, would you like to give a synopsis of what this series is about, besides a commercial?
Sure. This series is the continuation of Together the series, which aired earlier this year. It is a short 5-episode continuation, and the plot is that there is no plot, and things just sort of happen, and I wish I could give you a rundown, but I can't. Episode 1 has a small plot concerning Tyne and Sarawat in their music club. Sarawat is the new club president, and Tyne gets elected as like secretary, treasurer, I don't know. And people online are like, oh, he only got that job because he's dating the president. And then Tyne is like in his feelings about it and like drops the role. And that's about it. Yep, really boring. Episode 2, they're fighting because Sarawat and Tyne, I forgot whose club, so one of their club rooms moved. So Tyne from the cheerleading club and Sarawat from the music club, they're now right next to each other. And Sarawat is not in a soundproof room, and neither is Tyne. And Tyne, they're cheering, they're screaming, they're hooting and hollering. And then Miss Sarawat, she just keeps playing the instruments, and it gets a little crazy, and then they argue, and instead of being adults about it, they like, I forgot the conclusion. I think Tyne's like, they come up with a schedule of who can be loud on what days. Which, sure, fine, I guess, whatever. Episodes 3 and 4 revolve around, essentially, both are getting ready for big events for their respective clubs. Tyne is preparing to cheer for the soccer team, and Sarawat is going to join, I don't know, it was like almost a battle of the bands, but there were only 2 bands, but it was like a showcase. Sarawat needs to go away for 2 weeks so the band can properly train together. And we just spend the 2 episodes, each one's different perspective on the events. And then in the end, they're happy. They missed each other and they cried a lot. It was great. Episode 5, best episode. We'll talk about that later, why it's the best episode. They just go to the beach. It's a beach episode. It's very cute.
You know what I like about the beach?
Huh?
You know what I like about the beach?
What?
I love the ocean. I love the ocean because it's so vast and it's full of ocean life.
Where's the
and it's so salty. Much like my seafood snacks. Fresh from the ocean. Made for the enjoyment of boys and girls who enjoy relaxation and recreation. Ocean snacks for the discerning palate.
But as Sam said, this is essentially just one long commercial. Like, my guess is this is what happened. They wrapped up together. It did really well for GMM TV, got lots of YouTube views, yada, yada, yada. And my guess is a bunch of ad companies or like people were like, hey, we want to show our product on your show. If you make more, give us a shout out. We'll help pay for this. And GMMTV got so many ads that they were like, yes, we have so many ads that will pay for the entire production of Together Season 2. And then they probably just built the entire story based on how can we get these products in as seamlessly as possible. It did not work, but they tried. So, like, the series is hard to talk about because, like, nothing happens at all.
I mean, some things did happen, but they're minor, and the way that they're handled is in a way that's so superficial that it's very hard to be connected. So as you saw from the couple of commercial interludes that I've put in here, this was essentially a 5-series commercial. There were, I want to say, 8 products that were advertised, but the ones I could think of off the top of my head were the Lactosoy soy milk, the fruit juice boxes, the ramen noodles, the aloe drink, the vitamin drink and vitamin pill packet, and I'm trying to think, there's one more that I'm forgetting now, but yeah, it was all advertisements for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I personally don't have a problem with a series that is a commercial. A great example of that is the Coronetto commercials with Lay from My Engineer. It's a series, but it's actually commercials, but it's a boys love commercial series. Another really good example of that is the My Baby Bright series, which has Singto and Christ, where it's like a skincare commercial, but it's like an hour-long set of episodes that's a skincare commercial. So I don't have a problem with that. But the problem I have with it is that with Baby Bright and with Cornetto, it's very upfront that these are commercials. It's not trying to pose itself as a continuation of another storyline. It's not trying to establish itself as its own series. It is put out there as this is a full-length commercial. If you want to watch because you like this pairing, go ahead and watch. But this is a commercial. But this was advertised to the public as a continuation of the original storyline. And while there are parts of the original story that are alluded to, there's flashbacks, there's, ongoing storylines for certain characters, this was a commercial. And I feel like because it is so blatantly a commercial, it made this feel very cheap. And I'm not happy with that because, quiet as it's kept, Together is not a great show. We enjoy Together because we love Bright. That man can get it 5 ways to Sunday. And Tyne is beautiful. Like, the more I watched him in this series, the more I'm like, he is really super pretty. No wonder he's a model. Mm-hmm. But there were some problems with Together, the original Together. And some of the problems were that the relationship wasn't clearly defined in a lot of ways. It still kind of felt like two people who were not sure how to express themselves in the relationship. There were some problems with some of the side relationships that weren't as heavily explored or invested, and they were left with a couple of questions. So there are some issues with Together. But Together, what makes it enjoyable, besides the two people I mentioned, was the fact that it had an ongoing plot. It had a will they, won't they thing going on. Together kind of gave itself some room to breathe, to let the plot go where it needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And Together did not feel, at least to me, up until the very last two episodes, it didn't feel like we were running towards the finish line at lightning speed. It
Mm-hmm.
really did feel like we were watching the story develop. Once they moved in together and together, honestly, that's where I would have liked to have cut the series, like where they moved into their apartment. That would have been fine for me. But they wanted to do my brother comes over, my brother doesn't like you, my brother also happens to be the crush of your best friend, and they did all that, which that's extras. I didn't really need that. I didn't need the whole Pam splitting up relationship thing. But Together, prior to, I would say, the brother coming in and disrupting things and the whole Pam situation, Together was actually a very decent show.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of fumbled the finish line, but it was a very decent show. Still Together, because they have to squeeze in commercial time, because they promised Bright they would let him sing at least one song every episode, because they're trying to tie up loose ends for all these side characters that maybe people express separate fandoms for, everything is a sprint. And nothing feels really developed. Nothing feels really set in the pocket. Everything feels very surface and superficial. And it fucking sucks that in an effort to sell us soy milk and fruit juice and fucking ramen, that they decided to give us this half-ass thing when they very easily could have taken a few months off, written a full-length series, thrown a couple of commercials here and there for the people, and really given us a story here.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, they gave us this. And while this is not the most terrible thing we've ever watched, I mean, there's still all of End of Love. This was, frankly, disappointing to me.
It was, honestly, I thought it was a hard watch. Like, I just kind of sat there, like, every episode, and I had it on 1.5 speed because I did not care. But it was just like, it's a slog because nothing happens. Like, I don't care about these people anymore because you don't have given me a reason to care. Honestly, okay, episode 3, like, it's basically Tyna's sad that Sarawat's gone. Because they basically spent every day together for the last year. And it's like, oh my god, the fucking world ended for him. I'm sorry, it's a little melodramatic. It was a little too much. He's like sobbing at the poolside talking to a doll of Sarawat. And I'm like, he's like 40 minutes away. Meet up with him for dinner. Like, he's 40 minutes away by driving. Like, he's not far. He didn't go to war or anything. He's 40 minutes away. Who cares? You know, he'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, Tyne. I think it was just like, I wish that they had picked a lane. I wish they had either done like, okay, we're going to do a 5-episode mini-series and it'll have kind of one plot that's throughout each one that progresses each episode. Or they do like, they really buckle down on a slice of life thing, and it's like each episode is kind of like, almost like a sitcom or a slice of life anime, where it's like, each kind of group of characters has like a funny thing that they got to deal with, which is why I like the beach episode, because the whole first half was just Green and Dim are fighting. We don't know why they're fighting, but they're fighting. And they're basically at the beach to do like a trash pickup. It's basically they want to party at the beach, but it's disguised as we're gonna pick up trash at the beach type of thing. So like both the music club and the cheerleading club go. So all of our characters go. And when they get to the beach house, they realize that instead of one big beach house for them all to share, it ends up being two smaller beach houses, one with AC, one not with AC. So you're like, oh no, who's gonna get it? And then they like play volleyball to see who's gonna get it. Like, I thought that was fun. I thought it was cute. I was like, this is a good like little slice of life. Like, oh, let's see what happens with this type of thing. I think this is the only time I felt joy. I felt joy. So I was like, this is cute. This is like a cute idea. And I think the show should have buckled down on something like that and been like, hey, each episode's gonna be like a cutest, like an aside, and it's gonna be funny, and it's gonna be charming, and it'll be like an episode of Friends or 30 Rock, you know? But instead we got just them walking around, talking, saying kind of sweet nothings, just, it was just boring. It's boring. It's a boring show.
Yeah, they did a weird thing in that they made the first episode was almost like a sitcom. Like it started with, you know, here's the setup, here's the goal, here's the conflict, goal achieved. Then episodes 2 through 4 were a running storyline about the conflicts between the cheer squad and the band and this huge competition. Then the 5th episode was like a special episode that you would expect to see like after a series is over. Like they'll sometimes do like a special episode. For instance, like Make It Right did Make It Live at the Beach, which was a set of special episodes that really didn't have much to do with the storyline. And it made it to where it was a frustrating watch because there was no consistency in the way that the material was presented to the audience. And we deserve consistency. I mean, we're here. We're here, and we're obviously here because we're invested in the initial storyline. But there was so little to what they wrote that they did filler things. Like they would stick in, you know, oh, you came home late. Here, why don't you have some of my boob cream, condensed milk? Or they would have flashbacks to remind somebody of all the fun shit we did in our full season.
Yeah.
Or they would have like, hey, I know you miss me, so here's a song to remind you of how much I love you, and a 5-minute segment of a full song playing every single episode. In fact, the 5th episode had 2 full-length songs. So it's just like, make up your mind what we're doing here, and then at least stick to that format so that we're all on the same page. So this doesn't happen very often to me. Usually, if a series has a second season, and I have liked a character in a previous season, I'll like them more the next season because usually the likable characters will get a little bit more storyline of like, oh yeah, cool. This is the first time that I've moved from one season to the other, and I started to hate a character more. Ooh. And the character that I hated more was Dim. I fucking hated Dim. Dim and his fucking brimless hat got on my last ever-loving nerve. By the way, that hat is called a Docker cap. I had to look it up because I had to know, do they actually sell these godforsaken hats, or was this something they invented specifically for this show? But Dim plays the catalyst for every bit of conflict for this entire season, except for like a couple. So the first episode, the conflict was that Sarawat wanted Tyne to be the secretary for the music club, but people didn't think that he deserved to be in the music club, which they're absolutely right about that. He totally like cheated his way through his audition. But episodes 2, 3, and 4 were all about Dim being an asshole, even though he's already graduated from the college. Dim being an asshole and like making all these judgments and decisions about what the music club should do, even though he's not the president of the music club anymore. And it's all based on his conflict with his boyfriend. So by the time you get to the end of episode 4, you assume that if they're not back to lovey-dovey status, at least people are friendly, because during that entire song we had to listen to, Dim and Green were making eye contact, and it seemed friendly. Then we get to the special episode, And it's all about the fact that Dim keeps making horrible fucking decisions because he's in a fight with his boyfriend Green. And it's decisions like, oh, we can't share one house together because I need to win because you won't let us name our YouTube channel after me. Or we're now in the cabin that we're in because we lost the volleyball game. The power goes out. The man's offering to let us share the cabin with my boyfriend and his friends. But no, I'd rather be in the cabin with no AC and no electricity because I'm fucking mad. You know, or I'm willing to share my seafood, but you can only have 1/3 of the seafood because I'm mad and I need to come out on top. And it's like, this fucking man-child, how am I supposed to root for his relationship with Green when from what we get from context clues, Green is rich, his family's got money, he's got connections because they're at the resort because of Green's family connections. Green is fucking fun as shit. We've always seen that. Like, he's super organized.
Green deserves better.
Yeah, Green can have anybody else. Why do you want this guy?
He's a loser.
Is it the sex?
He's a loser.
Yeah, and he graduated from college and doesn't have a job, which is why he has the time to spend all of his waking hour with the music team. And it's just like, Green, is Dick that bomb?
It must be. I mean, Jim was pretty hot, but like still, he's kind of a loser. Oh, you know what pissed me off is in episode 4, when they go to Dim's house to practice, he's like, everyone give me your phone, you won't get it back for 2 weeks. I'd be like, fuck you, absolutely not. Who do you think? If I went to your house and you said, Mason, I'm gonna take your phone for the entire time you're here, I'd walk out the door. I'd be like, no, it's not happening.
But to be fair, you're also very picky about your electronics, so.
But no one has any right to my phone but me. Like, you can't take my phone just because we're practicing. Who do you think you are? You know? Like, he has no right to their phones. Like, what if there's an emergency and a parent needs to contact them?
I get that, and I'm not saying that that's right, but I'm just saying you're special because, like, when we were trying to do the one Boys Love vlog that we filmed from my house, like, no, this is dangerous. Don't do this.
Because my parents, when we were growing up, they were like, you get this computer, and this phone has to last you through college. Make it last 8 years. And, you know, she's been going steady for 9.5, so I'm keeping her going.
So yeah, I would never ask that, but yeah, like he comes across as like the shit stir, and it made me dislike Dim. It made me think that Sarawat was a jerk and weak because he doesn't stand up to this guy. And right. I get some of it is the whole like, well, he's my senior, so I have to respect him. But at this point, like, he's causing problems for everybody. Like, you can't do any better. And Green, for his part, he never really drives the conflict. Like, he doesn't tell the cheer team, oh, well, we have to do this because the music team is doing that. The one dig he gets in on the music team, he's like, listen, if you want to make noise with your speakers, my dad bought those speakers. We'll be making the noise with those now. Like, that was a power move. Mm-hmm. But that's really the only time he really was the aggressor in anything. And even that wasn't really aggressive. It was more reaction. But yeah, Dim, I liked him in the first season. I liked him because he kind of helped resolve some of the conflict between Sarawat and Tyne. I liked his apology when he came over to the dorm room for Tyne and him and Green were trying to make back up. I liked Dim, and I don't know why they ruined this character for me in the second season by making him so fucking petty and just like jealous for no reason. How can you be that jealous of somebody that you were fucking on the reg?
Yeah.
Because you're not even jealous of other people. You're specifically jealous of that person. Mm-hmm. That's so bizarre.
It's weird. And it is disappointing because when they announced the season, I was like, you know, I'm okay with this because I really want to see more of Dim Green and Man Type. I was like, I think there could be something here with these couples. I would like to see more. Yeah, we get a lot of good Dim Green moments. We just got Dim being a fucking tool bag.
Yeah.
Well, and then Man Type was also, I didn't like them for the sole purpose of they kept repeating like their theme. their theme, like as a couple, was just have trust in one another. Because man gets a promotion, or type gets a promotion, and it's like a plane ride away. I don't know how far away it was. It was a while away, somewhere else in Thailand. And, you know, man and type were living together, and type was like, well, this promotion's like, it's really big for my career. So man says, okay, you take the promotion and I'll come and live with you again once I graduate. And then like I think he was in his last year, maybe?
Well, I think they're in their second year.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding, right, because he's Sarawat's friend. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't matter. Anyways. And then like their whole theme was like, they keep having conversations about like, do you trust me? I trust you. Do you trust me? And they'd be like, yeah, I trust you. Do you trust me? And it was just that conversation like once or twice an episode. And even the last episode, they have that conversation on the beach. Sam, I was so tired. And then like, man was like, but do you trust me? Should I trust you? And then type just like kisses him. And he's like, yeah, this is my gift to you. It's like, you're living with him. You guys slept in the same bed. Why is a small kiss like, what does that even mean? Like, I feel like when you've been dating someone for what, roughly a year, you live with them, sleep in the same bed with them. Yeah, I feel like a kiss is like not that big a deal.
Yeah, I had real issues with the dynamic between man and type.
Oh,
because
of course.
It felt very kind of like, the power dynamic was absolutely shifted in type's direction, and that man was kind of just along for the ride. And I get it. Man is one of those prototypical puppy types who's like, I'll do anything for the one I love because I just love him so much, including taking like shitty treatment. But like you and I had the conversation very early on about the ramen episode.
Ooh, as you said, and as I said, divorce. That next morning, I'd be like, here you go. Get out.
Like, so I'm moving out now. So the story is that type is on a diet, and because type is on a diet, man has to go on the diet too. Well, they're laying in the bed that night, and man's like, I'm hungry. All I had was salad for dinner. And type's like, no, you need to go to bed. We're on a diet. Get over it. And then in the middle of the night, man realizes type's not in the bed. He gets up, and type is in the kitchen making ramen. And man just like laughs it off like, haha, well, you can have your ramen as long as you share it with me. Meanwhile, in real life, I would have been like, the fuck is this? You mean to have me out here fucking starving to death, but you are in the middle of the night making ramen and you don't even bother to wake me up so we can have a cheat night together? What's wrong with you? And then even after he makes the ramen, he's like, okay, well, you can have one bite, but the rest of the plate is for me. And it's just like, I'll kill you.
It's so easy to make another pack.
Right! Why didn't you make 2 packs? Obviously, you're both hungry and you had every intention of eating a pack by yourself. Why wouldn't you just boil 2 packs and be like, listen, we both get a bowl, a plate, whatever. But yeah, I was just like, this is fucked up. And it keeps going from there. It's type getting offered the promotion, and he comes home and is like, have you been online shopping? You leave your email open so I can see that you've been online shopping, which, I mean, unless he's spending the rent money, how the fuck does that matter for anything? Like, is there something that you guys were saving for and he's spending his money on that instead of saving? Like, be clear about it. But then man finds out that type has taken a job in Phuket. Not is considering a job, has taken a job in Phuket. And when type comes home, man's like, babe, I love you. You're going to Phuket and I'm celebrating because this is a big deal for you. And realistically, that should have been an argument. Like, really should have been an argument, because it's like, you were totally going to leave our apartment. I'm going to have to pay full rent on my own. And you weren't going to tell me when were you going to let me know that you were going? Why didn't we even talk about this at all? I'm not saying that you had to get my permission, but you could have at least sat down with me and be like, this is how this is going to work for us. this is the reason why this is a good deal for us.
Mm-hmm.
This is the reason why this is a good deal for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you deserve that as the live-in lover of somebody, and that just wasn't at all how that played out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, even after that, Type comes back to town. Instead of spending the night with his boyfriend after he gets sent to Phuket, he's like, I'm going to spend the night with my brother first, and then I'm going to spend the night with you. Which I'm like, okay, family first, whatever. But then he goes to the house, doesn't tell his boyfriend he's there. His boyfriend wasn't actually even going to be at home at first. He was going to go out for barbecue, but then, like, plans changed. So his boyfriend comes home, and they have, like, a little, like, sniffing session. It was bizarre. And after he leaves again, his boyfriend's like, hey, I got a jersey with your nickname on it. Isn't it cute? It says Duper White on it. And he's like, who's Jib? And he holds on to that until the last episode. Yeah, that's cool and all, but who the fuck is Jib?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's the bitch who orders the jerseys. Why are we arguing about this?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I'm just like, man, you deserve better, man. Like, you're so fun. You do TikTok dances. I thought that was a really cute illusion. It's just, why are you accepting this? Type is not fun.
No, I need to pull that stick out of his ass.
I mean, I can only assume that Type sucks dick like a Dyson. And that is the reason why he's able to hold on to man like this.
Oh, yeah. Freak in the sheets.
Yes, absolutely. And we've seen him on TikTok. I could believe that.
Yeah, that conservative little boy. Mm-mm.
Yeah. But, like, their storyline, honestly, me and Mason talked about this a little bit. It would have made more sense if every episode concentrated on one couple, and their storyline could have been about the do you trust me? And then Type could have explained, in my previous relationship, the person I trusted did me wrong. For instance, they made a package of ramen without me when they know that I love vegetable ramen. Comes in convenient 5-pack servings, so you can share with your loved ones and your friends. That's the last of my props, I promise.
I feel like good props.
Yeah, like he could have said, I have trust issues because my last man did something that made me really feel insecure about myself, and I had to build myself up. That's the reason why you saw me at the self-help seminars when we first met. You could have brought in the first season and linked it to this special episode by addressing where the trust issues come from, instead of steadily harping on the fact that we should not have trust issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought that's what it was going to be, because I remember when the press release statement that Still Together was going to be a thing, that's kind of what they made it out to be, that it was going to be 5 episodes, like, kind of one for each couple sort of thing. And I was like, that'd be fine. Like, I'd be fine with, like, if there's one episode that's dedicated to just Bright and Win, and then, because they're the main characters and they're so popular, if they have, like, a couple scenes in each other episode, but for the most part, each episode is its own character or couple. That would have been better. I'd have liked that a lot more.
Yeah, but that's not what they did. And I definitely feel like for Man and Type, because they had so little couple time in the first season of Together, they deserved one episode for them to work out what the fuck is going on with them and why there's this distance or this coldness that comes from Type and why it's so hard for him to warm up.
Because they live together. Why is he still so cold to him? You know?
Right.
Like they're
like
living
they shower together and he's just like getting his back soaked up, and that'd be a great time to like poke your ass out and rub up against it, and he doesn't even do that.
Yeah.
I don't get it. All right, so let's talk about a couple that, oddly enough, I'm actually pleased with where they ended up for the show. Mill and Fukong.
Yeah, they were all right. It could have been worse, I guess is how I feel about it.
Yeah, like, that's what I said. I'm okay with where they ended up. Like, I think that Fukong, honey, you need to see a therapist. There's really something wrong with your self-esteem that you're willing to wait for practically a year for a guy to let you know whether or not he likes you. Like that's kind of shitty. But I appreciate that Mill wasn't like, so the way that they did this, Boss and Man, who are Sarawat's friends, decide that because Fukong has a crush on Mill, and Mill used to have a crush on Tyne, that if Fukong just does the same things that Tyne did, Mill will have a crush on him, which is very basic kindergartner kind of thinking, but it kind of works. It really does. But Mill doesn't just like right away get to the lovey-dovey stuff. Like he's very much like, yeah, I like you. I definitely feel more than a brother to you, but I'm just not like an outwardly romantic person. So I have to my feelings are deeper than what my physical actions may show. And I was very comfortable with that. And I also liked it because it gave Fukong a reason to constantly be communicating with Mill, like, hey, this is the brother zone, take it to the relationship zone. And I liked that for the two of them. But again, Fukong to be waiting this long to get this man to pay attention to you, joining the faculty of architecture because you're trying to get this man to notice you, it just like, what do you want? Like, what are your goals at the end of the day? What would make you happy besides being this man's boyfriend? Because we don't know.
I'm really glad you brought that up because you could say that about almost every single character. What do Tyne and Sarawat want? I don't know. I don't know what anyone wants. They don't want anything. They have no agency outside of their relationships.
Like, we know what Type wants. Type wants to elevate in his company. We know that for sure because he's taking the job in Phuket. But, like, Dim, we don't know what kind of job Dim is looking for. Green, we don't really know what Green does besides, play around with the club scene. Sarawat and Tyne, we know they're in college, but we don't really know what their plan is after they graduate from college. There's just these little pockets of information where there's no realistic end game. It's just about what we're doing right now in this moment as two people trying to make it back to the sheets. And with Fukong especially, his lack of direction really bothers me because even in season 1, when he shows up at the school and it's like like a festival day or something, he is being approached by all these different schools, School of Business, whatever, schools inside of the university to join up with them. And he doesn't know what he wants to do. And it's not until he meets Mill that he decides to go into architecture. And it's like, honey, you were getting ready to go to the university, but you had no idea what you wanted to do. And you let you lusting after a guy you had maybe 5 minutes of interaction with determine the course of the rest of your university career. Like, Fukong, I really feel like is that one that when Mill decides to leave him eventually, he's going to have to kill Mill and wear his face as a Halloween mask.
Okay.
Because he just
people I want to see.
Seriously, because he has nothing, and everything about him almost makes it seem like he's like, please love me, show me you love me, give me signs that you want me. I'm willing to wait for it, but give me more. And I don't know. I'm worried about that. I did not like Mill as much in Together, but I like him more here than I ever have. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sneezy. Sorry about that. I don't have a commercial. That was just a real legitimate sneeze.
How dare you sneeze? Ruining the broadcast.
I'm so sorry. But yeah, like I was pleased where they ended up at. Like, it didn't go too far. Even the conversation that Mill had with Sarawat about dating his brother, he didn't go too far. Like, I'm just gonna love your brother forever, and we're never gonna be apart, and I'll be the best man ever. He's like, I'm gonna try my best to do what I can do. So at the end of the day, I actually really liked Mill at the end of this, and Fukong, I hope you find something of your own, and I hope that you chase that something of your own one day.
That'd be nice. He deserves. I guess he deserves. I don't know. Boring.
Yeah. So let's talk about a would-be pairing and a should-be pairing. Would-be pairing is boss and pair.
A whippy pairing?
A should-be pairing and a would-be pairing. I say boss and pair is a would-be because at the end of the day, we get the hint that they will be a couple because they link up hands at the beachside anniversary concert.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's not as much spoken. And even in the very last episode, he's still trying to get her there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any problems with their couple. I have problems with one specific timing issue, and I need the writers of Still Together to keep it together. So you remember they had the soccer game, and Fukong passed out, and Boss injured his leg at the soccer game. The next day, they're at the cheerleading club, and Fukong and Mill have decided to, go out together. Fukong's on the phone with Mill saying, I miss you too, baby. And then as Boss and Man are about to leave to go eat barbecue, Pear walks in the room, and she sees Boss's leg and is like, oh my gosh, your leg is hurt. You need to clean your leg so it doesn't get infected. This is the next day after his leg got injured.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that he left his leg dirty and bleeding and stayed in his soccer clothes for a complete evening daytime cycle? Or is there something about the timing and the writing that y'all just royally fucked up with this? Because I know it's a petty point, but it super bothered me because there's only 5 fucking episodes. So why would you make a mistake like that?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the thing that I was just kind of like, okay, if that was the case, y'all should have had this interaction the day before on the soccer field. Like, she should have ran up to him when his leg first got injured and then been like, oh my gosh, you're injured. I'm a pre-med student. Let me take you to the nurse and get you cleaned up, instead of waiting until the next day to have this interaction.
Yeah.
But that's a nitpick on my part. I'm sorry.
I think that's fair because this whole show, like, if it was a better show, I'd be like, yeah, that's a nitpick. But it's like, it's just all. I just don't think it's a good show. I thought Still Together was a bad follow-up. So, yeah, totally fair.
Yeah. And then the should-be pairing, which they did not go with, and I'm mad at this point. I really am. Ohm and Fong.
Yes, I hated that they made them straight. No.
Not only did they make them straight, they made Fong bisexual when it was canon that Fong was gay. Because in the books and in the last season, Fong had a crush on Tyne, and it took everything in him to encourage Tyne and Sarawat's relationship because he liked Tyne and had a crush on Tyne.
Was that in the show? I do not remember this.
Yeah, it was like very briefly in the show, but it was in the show and it was canon in the books. And instead of keeping that same thing and just making him and Ohm get together, which, by the way, Ohm is the cute twin. I think it's fully, firmly established he is the cute twin. But yeah, like, instead they made him straight all of a sudden. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Did not enjoy that. When I saw them appear, I was like, hope they get gay this time. And then the last episode, they're like, we're going to make them straight. Like,
they had on couples clothing in the 4th episode. In the 4th episode, when they went to watch Sarawat in the band, they both had on like pink shirts. They were twinning. Why are we straight?
Yeah.
They should have been a couple because they were so cute. Their little interactions together at the lunch table whenever they were talking to Tyne, it was just like, I see it for you two so much. Why can't we make this a thing?
Yeah.
Especially like at the beach when they were drinking and like both of them had like the really red cheeks. I was looking at Ohm, the hot twin, and I'm like, yeah, I need you to do a boy's love for Mama. She needs to see that.
You're like, now
So
kiss.
I really was. And I mean, I realize how nasty that sounds. I'm so sorry, guys. But it's just, okay. Knowing that Fong is canon gay in the book, I don't feel it's inappropriate to want to see him matched up. But then they got rid of one of the friends and didn't bring him back. And so the fact that they made it to where, yeah, so the fact that they made it to where only two of his friends were there, it was engineered to seem like they were supposed to be a couple anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple of moments in like the first episode where they were like making like wordless eye contact that I'm like, okay, I feel like y'all spend all your time together hanging out whenever you're not with Tyne.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because y'all are together? And it would have been a really cute reveal in the last episode to be like, yeah, we're celebrating our own anniversary. We've been together for 6 months. Like that would have been really cute. Why did we not do that?
Right.
So, tis what tis. Okay, so now let's talk about the main couple because we spent a lot of time on side couples because I helped us to digress. Sarawat and Tyne.
They're so boring. What does Tyne enjoy besides scrub?
Nothing. But, I mean, they talk about that a little bit on the 5th episode where he's like, there's some fans who listen to a song 100 times and never get tired of it, and then there's others who enjoy it less and less. I'm like, you absolutely are that 100-time person. That is all you. But on the one hand, I get where you were coming from when we were talking about this offline about this is the straightest BL you've ever seen because they don't have a lot of like intimate, touchy moments. But as I was thinking about it more, I was thinking about the fact that Tyne, in a lot of ways, very much reminds me of myself.
Mm.
I have been married before. I have a kid. And I was raised in a household where my parents were super affectionate, and I kind of like reacted very strongly to that. And in my own relationships, I'm not outwardly affectionate. Like I have deep feelings for people, but I'm not the kind who's like constantly touching on people, constantly kissing on somebody. Like that's just not my love language. My love language is like, are you hungry? I'm headed to the kitchen. You want something to eat? And I was thinking about it in that way. And I'm like, yes, we would like to see more intimacy between these two to show that they have a love relationship. But all love relationships are very different. And so if Tyne is not super expressive in that way, that would make sense to me because maybe that's just not who he is. And the glimpses we got of Tyne with his girlfriends, we didn't see really any affection between him and his girlfriends. They were sitting across from tables together having interactions. So I kind of have a good deal of forgiveness for Tyne's character not being the aggressor or the initiation of a lot of skinship. But I have to say, I don't have that same amount of forgiveness for Sarawat. But I have a lot of that for Tyne.
So I totally agree with you. My but to that is when they do get affectionate, it still reads as like two straight men not comfortable with what's happening right now. And that's why I think it's the straightest boys love, because man, the very last scene is finally Sarawat is gonna give him the promise of, I'm gonna kiss you till you drop. Something they said in the first season, something they've said repeatedly in season 2, and finally, you know, they're gonna do it. And it's not it. It is not a good kiss. It's very awkward. They looked like, if you've ever watched The Office, it looks like that scene where Michael kisses Oscar, and it's very clearly like, they're like, and then they like pull away. Yeah, it's not great. That's why it's the straightest boys.
Yeah, well, I gave you a rundown. If you followed me on Twitter in the last week, I gave a rundown of like what a GMM TV steamy kiss is, because there are a few different channels in Thailand and they all have varying degrees of intimacy that they're comfortable with showing. And GMM TV is like, we like a good kiss, but we don't want anything explicit. And so they kind of mind fuck you into thinking the kisses are really hot by making it to where the lip lipstick or the lip gloss that the actors wear is a little bit tacky, so their lips look like they're a little bit more stuck together, implying that there was saliva involved. They kiss with their mouth open, so it seems like there might be tongue involved, but really it's just lips meeting teeth. They do an off-center kiss to make it seem like they're really digging in there when they're really not. They tilt their head in a way so that they can kind of move around and mimic that they're getting into it when it's still very surface. And also they have a way of slowing down the action and like making hands in the back of the neck, that kind of thing, to make you feel like, oh wow, they've been kissing for a really long time, when really they've only probably been kissing for maybe 5 seconds at the most, and even
Right.
that's like really stretching it out. So I mean, GMMTV is never going to give you all that, but one thing we said in our history review that I think absolutely applies here, one of the things that made History 3 so good in both Trapped and in Make Our Days Count is the affection is in the light things. It's not in the big makeout scenes, even though that's great to see, but it's the eye contact you make with somebody. It is the way that you touch their hand absent-mindedly. And Sarawat is constantly like, I want to touch your boobs, I want to make out with you, I want to kiss you. Like, he verbally is expressing that he's a very affectionate, touchy person. Nothing in the way that he interacts with Tyne expresses that he is a very touchy, grabby person. And it makes it to where you get a lot of mixed messages because he's saying one thing and doing something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that he has to be constantly trying to make out with Tyne all the time. It's very much small touches, like me grabbing your waist while we're brushing our teeth side by side, or me, you know, tucking your hair behind your ear when we're getting ready to go out to go to school that day, or like when we're walking side by side, me grabbing for your hand and just absent-mindedly holding your hand. That those are small things, but those are the things that establish a year-long relationship much better than telling us you've been together for a year.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the reason why History is the GOAT.
Agreed. All right, so are we ready to give our review number?
Absolutely.
So
It's been a long, strange trip we've been on. There's nothing better for a trip than trail mix. I like the animal.
Oh man. I feel like 5 minutes before this, you like opened up your pantry and you're like, what can I do with this?
You ain't lying. I was thinking about it all last night, but I gathered my implements before we got on camera. And I was like, how am I going to fit a song into this? Because we do need to spend 5 minutes singing together. And I'm like, what song can we sing? But yeah, no, like, this is the last thing we're talking about before we do our rating. I get that we're trying to promote Bright as a singer. I get that's his side gig, and he's a competent singer. I don't have any problem with his singing. Personally, I'm not a fan of the kind of music that he performs on the show, so I fast forwarded through a lot of those performance clips. Also, like, they just didn't do anything to forward the narrative. But that all being said, that we're trying to promote him as a singer, and GMMTV has a record label, so this is to their benefit to promote him as a singer. I would have appreciated if, in promoting him as a singer, if they'd done the thing that happens in certain American and Western shows. The main singer will be singing, but then as he's singing, they'll cut away to like side characters having some type of dialogue or something, and he's still singing in the background, but there's like narrative and plot stuff going on at the same time. I would have way enjoyed that more than just a straight up, let's watch him sing as if this is the music video.
Right.
And it's a taste choice, obviously. It is a what I'm used to type of thing in terms of how I'm used to seeing the songs portrayed. But to spend 3 minutes sitting there from the start to the finish of a song and watching two people make really uncomfortable eye contact while they're singing just bothers the absolute fuck out of me. And it's so ironic that before we started this Zoom, you started playing Blinding Lights because I was going to try to find a way to fit me singing Blinding Lights into this vlog. I was going to be like, ooh, Mason, it seems like our connection is disconnected. Let's see. I've been trying to call.
I've been on my own for long enough. No, but I like that you mentioned that because I think, like, I feel like one of the only other shows where we've had that had like a musical sequence was Given, and that scene had so much story going on. Like, you saw them performing and the audience reaction, but there was like, you saw flashbacks to like Mafiu's childhood. You know, like, they really gave us story, which is why you can pick up the Given soundtrack now on Yes Asia.
Mason, you brilliant bitch, you. That was so good.
Thank you. Thank you.
You totally got me. I love that.
Out there, couldn't resist. All right, rating. I'm giving it a 5. I did not like this.
I'm giving it a strong 5.5. I'm giving it a 5.5 because I kind of wanted to give it a 6, but then I said no, because they lied to us, and so that's why I'm giving it a 5.5. I will say this: I'm not saying that I wouldn't watch more from the Together universe. I absolutely would watch more from that universe if the things that we addressed here today were addressed within that universe. There are several ways that the story of these couples could go, and that's without me reading the source material. Definitely we could establish, like, what if Sarawat, after winning this competition, gets recruited to join a record label and become an actual singer, and the issue becomes like, I'm trying to be well known, but I can't really have this boyfriend kind of be my priority anymore. My priority's got to be my career. And then Tyne having to deal with the fact that he doesn't do good being away from Sarawat, and he feels like their relationship is dissolving because they're not as close as they used to be. I wouldn't mind seeing more of Mil and Fu Kong and their relationship, and Fu Kong realizing he doesn't want to do architecture, and Mil realizing he doesn't really know his boyfriend because his boyfriend's just been kind of going along with everything that he wanted to do, and how because he doesn't know his boyfriend, all of a sudden with him changing and expressing his own personal desires, it's driving a wedge between them. I'd like to see Man and Type, and how Man is offered a job after graduation on a totally separate part of the country, and he can't go to Phuket, and then they have to determine, like, if I can't be with you, then should we be together at all? These are things that I would love to see in a second season. And so I'm not saying I would never want to be with these people again, but I don't want to be in another commercial with them again. I want to be in another series with them again.
Right. There's definitely something there, but this just didn't deliver, unfortunately.
Also, like, Bright, he was good looking in the first season, if he did look a little sickly because they didn't have his makeup right. But in this season, Bright and Tyne were beautiful.
They really got the makeup right for every character this season.
Oh yeah, like Fu Kong and Mil, their makeup was still a little bad. I don't know, the color match wasn't great, but everyone else, their makeup was gorgeous. And Bright and Win, they looked fucking amazing. I'm actually kind of half mad that they had, that was the sponsorship I forgot. They had an Idol Cosmetics sponsorship where it was like face lotion and skin lotion. I'm really mad that they did not have a makeup sponsorship, because if they had told me this is the makeup I'm using, I would have been like, you know what, I'm interested, because their skin looked fantastic.
Well, Until We Meet Again stole all of the makeup sponsorships, so.
Oh, really? I thought Why Are You did.
Until We Meet Again, every episode they're like, Mix Cosmetics. Which we'll do that one soon. We have to. We got to get to it.
We will. I think we might do that after Game Boys. by the way, Game Boys is what we're doing next week. I'll say it again at the end of this, but Game Boys is the next one. They just ended today. I have not watched the last episode in totality, but I hear that it ends well and they are going to be having a season 2. But that is the next show that we're watching is Game Boys. And I can't think of anything else that's ending after Game Boy. So it would make sense for our Until We Meet Again to be our next show because it is something we've pushed off for a long time, but I don't want to make any promises because I don't know what Mason's work schedule is going to be like, and Until We Meet Again has a lot of episodes, so it really depends on where we're at, but Game Boys is something that I've been talking about on here for a really long time,
Yeah.
so I'd like to get it kind of knocked out.
Game Boys for sure next week. I also think it's good because we're finally getting to new content because Corona really pushed back so many Boys Love releases to, you know, where we've, after what, I think it was Together, what might have been the last show that like aired that we reviewed as it came out. Or maybe like Life, Love on the Line, a couple Japanese shows. But
yeah,
for the most part, Thai Boys Love especially hasn't had anything. So now that we have Still Together, Game Boy's not Thai, but Game Boys is coming out, and then Love by Chance Season 2 is airing, which that'll be an episode. Let me tell you. Goddamn.
okay, so as you know, this segment of the show is Samantha's rant, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the Instagram of the day is Gus Banana. It's the Instagram for the guy who plays Green. His name is Gun, but his Instagram is Gus Banana, GusBanana. So check out his Instagram. I don't follow him, but I find it very interesting that his Instagram is his own Instagram. Like it's not like one for business because it goes all the way back to 2012. And when you go back really far in his Instagram and you see all the people that he's been friends with for like the last 8 years who became big Boys Love stars, it kind of makes you a little bit frustrated and mad for him because he was there at the beginning of like Tay and New's career, Off and Gun's career. He was in that group, that pocket, and he was supposed to be a part of that generation of like the next big BL stars, and it never happened for him. And I sometimes wonder if it didn't happen for him because he is openly gay. Like at a point in time, people knew his boyfriend's name and they posted pictures on Instagram, and you just have to wonder if like because he is out, that he never really got to be as far as he was supposed to, because don't make the mistake and think that because he plays, you know, flamboyant and, you know, super queenie on the show that he has no artistic depth. He has a lot of depth and he's been in some stuff where he's really shown it. But unfortunately, you know, there is bias in an industry that even is filled with professional people who are a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Still, they don't get to be the ones that decide who gets what visibility in a lot of ways. And his career has absolutely been kind of like pushed down because of his out status.
It's disappointing. He's just as talented and just as attractive as the others, so it has to be because he's openly gay.
Yeah. But here's the rant. Me and Mason are watching A Chance at Love, which is the Love by Chance season 2, I guess you could say. And we did a rant on our channel about MAME and the fetishization of abuse, which is absolutely what it is. It's not about, it's just abuse. It's not even just sexual, it's emotional, it's domestic violence, it's child abuse, it's every form of abuse you could think of. It's abuse. And we're going into this new season, and she made a huge change. She took the storyline for Thinkin and she restarted it. And that in and of itself, I can live with. I can live with it. I think it fucks up the timeline because every other timeline stays static, but that one gets restarted. Not my favorite thing in the world to see, but I can live with it. What makes me mad is that we had the entire discussion about how King Claw and No their storyline is filled with no, 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 no. And if you feel like you need to rewrite a storyline because removing a character, all of a sudden it doesn't work, why wouldn't you just use this as an opportunity to restart everything, including how Kinkla and No's relationship begins? The first discussion we get about Kinkla and No's feelings about what happened with Kinkla is a conversation that he has by himself when his phone rings. Mason, I'll let you take this.
Oh, is it the scene where he's like, oh, how do I tell him that I really liked it?
Yes.
Ew. Sorry. Yeah. I think I paused and like walked away. I was like, fine. Like, here we are. I'm bootlegging it anyways, so whatever. I can't change this.
So Mason had a little bit of a back and forth, not like a negative back and forth, just like a conversation with Aggie on the comment section of the main video that we did. And Aggie brought up the point that, and I think we've talked about it on this show perhaps too, brought up the point that it is a trope in Thailand to have these rapes turn into romance. I'll let you talk more about it because it was your conversation.
Oh, she was just kind of explaining the kind of two different definitions of rape that they have in Thailand, and how one is like jail term, like it's abusive, and the other one is like, oh, I'll take care of you, you're mine now type of thing. And that's like more romanticized. And the problem with Mame is that a lot of her villains partake in the second type of rape, which is like the, oh, this is completely illegal and you should go to jail for this, like Long. But then she'll have her main characters turn around and also do that type of rape. And you're like, but if you said the bad guy did it, he should go to jail. Why is it when the main character does it, it's fine, it's whatever. But that's we mostly talked about it in regards to Tharn type, because there is some bullshit that happens in the Tharn type book that if they keep it in the show, it'll ruin the show completely. Like, it would be unwatchable if they kept that.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll get into it when we eventually get to Tharn type, but it's just disappointing that she decided, I'll reboot Tin and Can, but the rape is fine. We'll keep that. Because why?
Because she's a fucking monster, and don't be fooled by the idea that because this is fictional that it doesn't matter. It's indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this game is. It's indoctrination. I grew up at a time when people just started talking openly about homosexuality, and it was because of the AIDS crisis. And members of the gay community stood up and said, you guys are blaming AIDS on us as if this isn't a health crisis that affects everybody. And it's because of your bias against gay people because of everything you've been fed. And so the 90s and the early 2000s spent a lot of time educating the public about how being a gay person is the same as being a straight person. And like the murder of Matthew Shepard shone a lot of light on how ignorance is what causes people to commit these acts of violence, and it's bias and it's hate, and it has nothing to do with this person doing anything wrong. They're just a target because of the way that society portrays gay people and what they told people is acceptable to believe about gay people. And so a lot of work has had to be done over the years to change the public and let them understand gay people are exactly that, people. They're people. Trans women, the work is still being done. It's not done at all. The work is still being done to try to move the needle in that way. And that's why continuing to point out MAME is so important, because it's about indoctrination. When you start sending the message that gay people have toxic, terrible, abusive relationships, it allows people to look down on gay people because, like, well, They fuck their own brothers. They're not like the rest of us. And that's the reason why she has to be stopped, because she's looking at this as a good time. But when they keep feeding her money to put on these shows that reach thousands, if not millions of eyes and ears, she's harming a real population. She's doing real harm to real people. And anyone who tells me, oh, you shouldn't be mad because somebody likes problematic relationships in fiction, fuck out of here. Eat my whole ass. Because I can be mad because it has real world consequences. Until we can get more healthy portrayals on the screen, save that problematic, incestuous, abusive bullshit for another person, for another time. But get us some healthy stuff on the screen first, and then we can talk about problems.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Damn.
Rant complete. What's the manga of the day?
It's not a manga. The reason it's not a manga is because I read a boys love book and it was amazing and I have to speak about it. Okay. I read this book. It's called Conventionally Yours by Annabeth Albert. Honestly, it just seemed like a silly rom-com type book, so I was kind of here for it, like enemies to lovers type thing. So I'm going to read the back. Charming, charismatic, and effortless. I can't speak. Is this a stroke? No, it's not. Charismatic and I can't say that word. Effortlessly. That's a hard word.
A lot of syllables there.
I sound so dumb right now. Conrad Stewart seems to have it all, but in reality, he's scrambling to keep his life from falling apart. Brilliant, guarded, and endlessly driven, Eldon Roth is the poster boy for perfection. But even he can't help but feel a little bit broken inside. When these mortal enemies are stuck together on a cross-country road trip to the biggest fan convention of their lives, their infamous rivalry takes a back seat as an unexpected connection grows. Yet each has a reason they have to win the upcoming gaming tournament, and neither is willing to let emotions get in the way, even if it means giving up their one chance at something truly magical. So, based on that, you're like, I could see where this is gonna go. And you're probably right. But I think this might be one of the best pieces of queer media that I've ever consumed. Let me tell you why. I think the reason their relationship works is because they have an agency outside of the relationship. Here's a good example. I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring back Parks and Rec. So, Office and Parks and Rec are two very popular series, and Jim and Pam are like a couple that kind of like an iconic TV couple. The problem with Jim and Pam is their whole thing was will they, won't they, and then of course they did. The problem is they didn't really have anything much as characters outside of the will they, won't they. So once they got together and they got married, it was kind of like, what do we have for Jim and Pam? Not much. They don't really want anything. They don't really need anything. It's like perfect bliss, which is why in season 9 they tried to change that and they did a terrible job, but that's a different story. Parks and Rec, on the other hand, Leslie Knope, her love interest isn't introduced until the tail end of season 2. And they don't really get together until season 4, like officially, like we're together, this can be a thing. And so Leslie and Ben work much better as a couple because both characters have wants and needs that are well established outside of the relationship. Leslie wants to do good for the community. Ben wants to do good for the community. They have dreams and desires and professional goals and friends and things outside of that relationship. So their relationship to me works really well because they have established ideas. And that's what I really like about Eldon and Conrad is they both have a reason for wanting to win this tournament, to win the money, to win the job offer that eventually comes with the tournament. Because if you win this tournament, you get to be a pro gamer. Essentially, they play a game called Odyssey. It's a card game. It's essentially Magic the Gathering. It's Magic the Gathering. If you know what that is, great. If you don't, it's a card game. It's really fun, actually. I played it in high school. But it's like witches and wizards, and it's fun. It's fun. It's a cool game. Look it up. and it's like collectible cards and things like that. But they both have things that they want outside of the relationship. So when they get together, roughly halfway is when they start actually getting together. You know, you feel like, okay, well, there's more to this book because once they get together, we have other things that we have to deal with right now. You know, it's not the only thing. Not only that, but it is one of the most honest representations of queer community in the sense that it is so weird to me how, at least in America, like, boys love gets it right. Everyone's fucking gay in a boys love. You know why? Because queer people attract each other. Like, real talk, queer people really attract each other. Almost all of my friends in high school, we all ended up somewhere on the LGBTQ spectrum. You know, all of us, except for one guy. He's straight. He's our lone hetero, and we love him dearly. But yes, all of us somehow gay. And I think this book does a good job of, like, all of their friends, almost every named character is somewhere on the spectrum. And I love that there is really good non-binary representation in here. I thought that was really good. Their name is Peyton, and they're really cool. And the next book is about Peyton and Jasper, two side characters. So I'm very excited for that. But like Conrad, his whole thing is he was kicked out of the house for being gay. And there's a lot of really, really honest emotions that are played through there. Like the fact that he still loves his family, but at the same time is very angry at them and he doesn't know how to process that. I think that's very genuine. And then Alden's whole thing is he is neurodiverse, and you know his parents were always trying to get him fixed or diagnosed or to be normal, and he doesn't really So not only does it heal with him being neurodiverse, and Conrad is like a fucking Labrador, and Alden's like, I don't know how to deal with this. Like, are you being sarcastic? I have no idea. But also, he has his own problems at home. He has also his own home life issues, and he's kind of directionless in life. Like, his parents want him to do one thing, but he doesn't know what he wants to do with life. But he's 23, and it's, the clock's ticking. So, sorry I kept ranting about this. This is just a really good book, and it was one of those things that after I finished it, I was like, I would fucking pay any amount of money to either see this be brought to life as a TV series or for a sequel book. Like, please. These characters are so interesting, and I love them. And the way that they get together, it makes sense. Yes, they do. It does feel a little bit rushed because most of this book takes place in a week time period. But, like, listen, you're sitting on a road trip with someone, driving cross country, and you're only speaking to them for 5 days, you're going to get close to them. You can get close to them. So, really good book. Really, really, really good book. Conventionally Yours by Annabeth Albert. She did a great job writing this. Fucking hat off. Like, really a good book. Okay. Here we go.
No, you're good. You're good. I want to just side tangent, real life. Okay, so you're saying, like, they got together kind of fast and, like, yeah. I'm going to tell you a real life story about me.
Okay.
When I was in college, there was this guy that I didn't know very well, but, like, he was a part of the people that were residents in the building I lived in. Mm-hmm. And one night, I got super drunk, and I was trying to get out of the front door, and I ran into the wall next to the front door. I missed the door. Ooh. And and I missed the door in front of a whole bunch of people, including this guy. And he proceeded to, like, make fun of me for, I want to say, like, 2 or 3 weeks until I had to tell him, like, listen, we're not close friends, so this, like, friendly teasing you're doing of me isn't reading friendly to me. It's really reading annoying. I'd prefer for you not to be around me anymore. And, like, I felt like a bitch when I said it, but I totally meant that shit. And he got it because he left me alone. And after him leaving me alone for a while, I was like, okay, well, we kind of are all in the same friend groups. I'm not going to be outwardly aggressive towards him anymore because he paid attention to what I said, made me uncomfortable. And so after a while, we started hanging out around each other, and we got to a friendly position. Not best friends or anything like that, just like to where I wasn't screw-faced whenever I was around him. One night, we go on a date, and it didn't start as a date. It was like do you want to go bowling with me and 2 other people? So we, as a group, because we all knew each other, went bowling. And then after we went bowling, we're like, well, we're still kind of wired up. Let's watch a movie. So we all watched a movie together. And then after watching the movie, it was like, I'm still wired up too. Do you want to hang out? And then the fire alarm goes off in the building we're in. So everybody's forced to go outside. We go sit on a bench together outside and we're talking, and people are starting to go back into the building, but we're still kind of wired up from the evening. We were having a good time. So like, we'll just sit out here and talk for a little while and then we'll go back in the building. As we are talking, literally in one night, I felt myself falling in love with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the night, I had kissed this person and had scheduled another date. That person is Stephanie's dad.
What a cute story.
Yeah. And so like when people say sometimes that in fiction the relationships move too fast, I get that, but there's some times when like you'll hit a sweet spot with somebody and you just realize like there's something about them that my soul connects to, and I need to continue to be with this person for as long as we can maintain a relationship.
I really think you'd like Conventionally Yours then, just because you really feel that, oh, I get it. I see why they love each other. And I see why it happened so fast.
Yeah. So, sometimes true love just happens like that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I think that's it. Next week is Game Boys, and you guys got 3 videos from us in a week, so whew,
Right?
be happy.
We are killing it out here.
Oh yeah. Watch after next week. It'll be like, for some reason, we must be on a 3-month hiatus.
I won't do that to you guys. I know personally when I get into something and then all of a sudden it goes on a big break, I lose interest. So I promise I will do my damnedest to try to show up here every weekend as long as we can do this.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right,
Well,
guys.
everyone, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.